Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Camp Patton Family Compound. It is time for the Monday Night Fireside Chat, and tonight's topic is dun, 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 what is hard to can? All right. So, yeah. I was supposed to have much more information, but like I was talking to Tammy and Mark beforehand, the websites I had looked at before when I came a couple of weeks ago when I added it to the calendar, went back and the great Google with their wingnut mentality is say, oh, we're not going to show those to you anymore. All they would show me is, oh, you're not supposed to be canning this, not supposed to be canning that. That's not what I'm asking.
He took on the NRA for gun safety.
Sorry, that's my other iPad. Listen to a commercial for, I think, some guy I might actually be related to, which is kind of scary that, running for council and he took on the NRA for gun safety. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's just the opposite. All right, so let's see who all came in. Okay, so well, these two here were first and second. And then Phelan Clan Wolf was third. Then Chipper was fourth. Then Walt was fifth. And then he comes in with his other channel for fourth. Chipper was fifth. Walt was sixth. Aiden here was seventh. Then Marshmallow, it's the Marshmallow Man. Sue Me's here. Geeky Garden's here. And we got a bunch then that are out there lurkers. Hey, how you doing? Please hit the thumbs up and at least say hi, listening.
Yep.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this one, because I know in all the other ones we've been talking about how some things are easier than others. It's kind of like I think it'd be good to have it out for people to say, all right, what's going to be hard, and should I not start with this first? Something that I don't want. It shouldn't be my first experience in either pressure canning or water bath canning, because that can just ruin it for somebody if they pick the hardest thing to do. It's like, yeah. Yep. And I did see something interesting though on your Facebook page. I don't know if you saw the one where the lady was doing the eggs. And evidently,
I haven't been there today.
No, this was yesterday or the day before. And basically what she did is, I guess she scrambled eggs and went to can it. And a couple of them blew the lids out. It looked like a biscuit in there because I had plenty of headspace in it. Just
you can't can scrambled eggs. No, those are the people that made me get off the page.
Well, she was going, what's wrong? What did I do wrong? And some people explained it to her. You don't can scrambled eggs. I guess you can, once someone was talking about you hard-boiled egg, you can the hard-boiled eggs or something like that.
No, you pickle them.
Yeah, you pickle hard-boiled eggs and can them.
Yeah. There's some beet juice in there.
People have tried to pressure can eggs. And the problem... Okay, we all hard-boiled eggs. And when you over hard-boil eggs, they turn green. And they're not appetizing. So while they may be edible in that form, and I'm saying may, because I'm not going to take them. I'm not going to eat them. That is not something you would prefer to do. There are much better ways to preserve eggs that do not involve eating something that's green that nature did not design as green. Just saying.
Oh, so in other words, Dr. Seuss was kind of wrong about eating green eggs and ham.
Yeah, I am not Sam. I am. I will not eat green eggs and ham. Or maybe I am Sam. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. E. Wood is in here. Okay, they made a comment. I've seen people successfully can eggs, but were they canning them as scrambled or canning them in a pre-cooked and then put in, or
And did they open them up and cut them open so you could see how they looked on the inside? Because
Yeah.
while you may do it, it may not give you the result you think it will.
Yeah.
Just saying. It's doable, but is it really practical and
Yeah.
helpful and
So
edible?
talking about the egg thing here, just clearing it, getting it straight up here. They canned them. Let me put it up here. They canned them scrambled with sausage burrito in a can, etc.
And try it, knock yourself out, rebel out.
Yeah. They left lots of headspace. Yeah.
No,
Right.
no.
I'm cracking up every time I talk. My talking head in the jar is glowing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Billy
Yes, you
says
are.
he just wants to pickle eggs.
Yeah, and pickling eggs are so easy. It makes them shelf stable, and you don't have to have a pressure canner, and they're really delicious. And you can make them 27 different ways, and every time you open a jar, it's a new treat, and they are actually edible.
Right. So
and appetizing.
with scrambled eggs, can you cook it scrambled, already cooked, not trying to scramble the raw stuff in the jar? I mean, cook the canned raw stuff, but cook them already and then pack it into the jar and dry can and
No. The
No.
sulfides will come off. It'll still turn green and taste like crap.
Yes, it will
Okay.
be green. It will smell like skunk, and it will not be something you will want to eat.
No, it'll probably hurt you.
And I do
eggs
not
are just on the
recommend
no
it.
list. You
Yeah.
just don't.
Okay, so that's not a hard one. That's a don't do one.
That's a definite.
That particular way.
Yeah.
So
That's a no.
yeah, because I know that I've seen a lot of homesteaders talking about when they want to preserve eggs, they water glass them.
Right.
Yes.
Use pickling lime, and
Now-
that's a different thing. Tammy, you
Yes.
do that one.
So you do not cook them first. You get them straight from the chicken. You want them as clean as possible, and you want the bloom. So you do not wash them.
Right.
This is imperative.
Yeah.
You do not wash them unless you want them, again, to taste like something you will not eat. Because
Yeah.
if you wash them, you open the pores in the egg, and then all that lime goes in, and they do not taste like eggs anymore. They are not edible. Okay.
Yes.
So if people tell you you can wash them, don't listen to them.
And don't
Because
try to
they're not
water
really
glass
doing it,
store-bought eggs.
and they're not really eating them.
Yes.
Okay.
Store-bought eggs have already been washed.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's
In
why
the
you have to
United
refrigerate them.
States, in the United States. Now, in other countries, you can buy eggs at the store that are not washed because they understand that bloom is a better protective coating against bacteria than anything you can buy in the store.
Yeah.
Period. So, if there is a little scuff or a little something, you can lightly buff them and get that spot off. But for the most part, you want perfectly clean, straight from the chicken with the bloom on eggs. And then you put them into a solution of lime, pickling lime, that's mixed with water. And then you put the eggs in there. Now, this is why I do not eat water glass eggs. Now, I do them. I've done them. I've had them. I don't like sticking my hand or anything back in there. It's that solution over time gets kind of slimy.
Yeah.
Well, so
You know.
real quick,
So I don't like the slime factor.
lime is alkali.
Yes.
So it's pure alkali. So by putting the alkaline on the outside of the egg, it protects it from the acid parts getting in or the neutral parts getting in. So you stick your hand in there, you better have some vinegar handy.
Well, and you've also introduced bacteria into that solution. It becomes
Right, but the
cloudy
alkaline
and
will kill the bacteria. Use a pair of tongs.
Yeah,
But
tongs. But again, when you get the egg out and you're touching it to wash it off, it's slimy. But then you wash it off and you can open it, and it should be like a fresh egg. The yolk, over time, they will lose liquid, the water factor in there, so it will lose liquid. So the yolk will be like a store-bought egg instead of big, bright yellow and fluffy and up high. Over time, the yolks will become like flat.
Yeah.
Right,
Like
that
a store-bought
sliminess is
egg.
not the eggs. That's like when you get bleach on your hands, you get slimy. That's
Yeah.
the alkaline that makes you slimy. So and don't stick your hands in there. It does work. It works
Well,
fine.
I'm just saying, back in the day, my grandmother didn't have metal tongs, okay?
Yeah, well, there is that.
She's like, just reach in there and grab one. Well, I don't, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get
Okay.
it in your eyes.
Yeah. No. That stuff is, then
Right.
that's what they, fertilize fields with, basically a form of that, not the exact form. Make
Okay,
sure
I
you
think
get edible pickling lime too, not fertilizer lime.
Yeah. So, all right. So we answered that little thing that I saw on your on the Rebel Canners Facebook page. What So for you guys, for your experience in in canning stuff, what has been the hardest thing that you successfully canned?
Cake.
Oh.
Had to go
No.
there.
No. I didn't mean leave it. How you successfully left the hardest thing to successfully leave it on the shelf for a year.
I think for me, finding a way to can asparagus, again, it's a texture thing for me. I don't like mushy asparagus. So I've discovered that I really like it pickled, and I would rather use it pickled than to pressure can it and have it not pickled. So I prefer to pickle it and water bath it because I like it crisp and crunchy, and I'll sacrifice the other ways to cook it and eat it pickled.
Mine is, my wife has these amazing recipes for these different Spanish beans, pink beans, black beans, and there's pork and stuff in there, but it's not your typical pork and beans. One of them is a Puerto Rican recipe she has from a friend or a mother way back when. Anyway, we wind up having to make the beans, but I have to par cook. I can't cook them all the way through because they're going to cook even harder in the jar. We are reluctant to do all the ingredients. I want to try it, but I don't want to explode my jars, to put the dry beans with all the ingredients in a jar and can it, because beans are very picky depending on the water, the moisture content in the bean, even though they're dry, and the volume. Everybody's like, oh, just fill it halfway and top it off with water.
No.
Well, it depends on
No.
and
not halfway.
I'm just so that if I would say dry beans in a jar to just make canned, like just black beans. If I threw black beans in a jar and put water in it and then no seasoning and then canned it, to me, that would be one of the hardest things to do, because you're going to lose a jar or you won't have enough beans. And then if you get a different variety of black beans and do it again and use the same measurement or add to it, it could be too much. So these companies that, B&M and all that make the beans, they have that stuff down to an exacting science to make sure that those cans, I'm sure they get their share of exploding cans in the big enclave, but they got it down to a science, because you open that can, it is right to the top with beans and sauce and juice and stuff. So it's right there. Me personally, I'd love to try it. I'm kind of scared of it because I don't want to waste beans. I'd rather pre-cook them most of the way. We've already figured out how to do that. So, and I think I actually lost 2 jars of her beans when we did it, and she was upset because I had like 40 of them. And yeah, there was just a little bit too much in there, and the beans that were in there apparently hadn't gotten to where they needed to be. So they expanded so much it blew the lids off.
All right. So Diana too wants to know, when you say pickled asparagus, is that different than fermented?
Yes, it is. It means that it is water bath canned in a vinegar solution with spices, so that it is high enough acid that it's safe to water bath.
For what, 30 minutes?
40. You're gonna
depends on the acid
content. It's not 3 hours.
No.
Now, water bath canning with high acid is always a shorter time than trying to water bath meats with no acid.
Yeah.
That's all like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, come
and she said, okay, thanks.
It's probably 18 minutes or 20 minutes or something, depending on the jar.
You don't want to can something that is fermented. 2 reasons. Number 1 is you lose the probiotics. So the whole point of fermenting it was to make it break down and have the probiotics that your gut needs for good gut health. So if you're going to ferment foods, that's a way of preserving it, and you're going to want to eat it fermented. Number two, the one and only major repetitive cause of botulism, yes, I went there,
No,
is
you went there.
is canning fermented fish from Alaska. That's when you can something that's fermented, it has a high bacteria count. So that fish may not have a very high, it has bacteria. Every food has bacteria. May not have a high bacteria count, but when you're fermenting something, you're deliberately increasing the bacteria count in there. That's the good bacteria. But then you try to can it. That's not good. That's again, that just kind of goes against logic.
Now, one of the things I do know from research back in the day, like when B&M does their beans or Bush does their beans and stuff, the beans are all cooked before they quote can it, and then they're putting them into the can, send it to the system, and then they're doing a flash steam canning on it when they put the lids on it and stuff. So it's all cooked. Everything's hot. I mean, it's all hot, hot.
It's they're using the same process we use when we pressure can.
Like
Yeah, except it's not under pressure. It's out.
It technically is. Once, if you've ever seen
Yeah.
a can in a factory come out of their steamer, they're bulged. The lids are bulged up, the sides are bulged out a little bit. But when they cool, everything's dead, and it goes right back to normal.
Yeah, because they should just going through on an assembly line where it was going in, and they were going through into a steam chamber as it went through. Now they may have changed that, or just may have been just one company doing that, but it was running through a system where it was it was everything was superheated. It went through, lids were being put on in the steam, and then it came out, and then so it, as it cooled, it sucked everything down in and everything.
It depends on the company. Some use giant tunnel steamers. Other ones use pressure steamers.
Okay.
Where they go in, they got 10,000 cans in this thing the size of a school bus. And they shut the submarine door and they pressure it up to whatever and the temperature for a period of time. It comes out. All the cans are bulged. And then as it cool down, they just pull back down again. They look normal.
All right. Check that as a question here.
One more thing before we move on.
Yeah.
I did not find the time for pickled asparagus in either of my older books. Sorry. But on the beans. Now, the approved method for beans is to soak them overnight first to get your moisture content to the highest level you can. Now there is an unapproved method that rebels use if you're canning dried beans.
Yeah.
It's the rule of thumb is a quarter cup to a pint and a half cup of dried beans, no more to a quart. Because like we said, they will expand. They will pop that lid off. They could actually plug up the vent in your canner and cause all sorts of difficulties. So, and they, pop your lids, break your jars. You don't want to put too many beans. Don't fill them half. Used to made a comment about, I'm tempted to do halfway and fill up with liquid. When people are telling you that, that's a big no. That's a nope.
The problem with beans when you do it that way is a half a cup of giant red kidney beans is less beans than a half a cup of the mini black beans. You have more dense beans in there. So there's that issue too. And there's no way to really compensate for that unless you you test it.
So, and I'm not now, I'm going to go out onto the devil's advocate here. If I have dried beans, I'm just going to store dried beans so I need to use them.
Exactly.
Yep. That's
exactly.
What I do.
And what I do is when I have a canner that needs an extra jar in there, it's the same time for meat. So I may pull out some, I know that I use, quite a few kidney beans, not so many black beans. So, and I use a few garbanzo beans here and there. So when I look at my shelf, see what I need some, and I'll just take out and I'll do a can to keep so many on my shelf ready to go. Because I know that if I have to put the beans in the Instant Pot and cook them, I'm not going to do that for the meal. We did wet burritos today. We used refried beans in that. We should have made the beans this morning and we wound up having to use a can of canned beans because we hadn't planned ahead. I'm not going to plan ahead because I didn't know at 6 o'clock this morning what I wanted to eat at 5 o'clock tonight. So I always keep a few on my shelf. Not a lot though, because it's better to store them dried.
Yeah.
As
So
an added
check
thing
off.
for that. Oh yeah. Are better beans to canned or store dried? Well, here's my take on store dried beans. They're fine. You probably got a year or two at them before they will literally start absorbing moisture because they're just dried. There is moisture content in there. So I will take, 20 bags of lentils I bought at the store that are, they got another 2 years on their expiration. Yes, I'm going there. I'll throw them in the freeze dryer. Sounds weird, but it will actually lose, a pound of beans will actually lose about 10 grams of water weight. Then I'll throw them in another bag and throw an oxygen absorber in there. Now those beans will be good for a very long time. Rice, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Rice came across the ocean, or most of it. Some comes from California, Mexico, wherever. There is humidity.
Southern U.S.
Yeah, there is humidity in that rice. If I take 10 pounds of rice and throw it in the freeze dryer, I'll lose about 4 ounces of moisture weight. Well, there was moisture in there. That will cause everything to spoil over time, moisture and oxygen. So I'll do that, and then I'll put them in 1 pound packages in the thing and throw an O2 absorber in there. Now I know my basmati rice will taste like basmati rice in 20 years or more.
Yeah.
But yeah, and even when you buy canned beans in the store, those are probably good. I know I've had some here for 5 years that I've opened up are just still perfect. So if they were properly canned commercially, you're going to get 5-10 years out of it. So long as the can doesn't get damaged, so long as it doesn't in a high moisture area where the can starts to rust. So long as you take care of the can, the beans inside should be good.
At worst, you'll have a very, very background metallic flavor, but you're fine. Yeah. It's tin. Yeah. It's not lead. They don't use lead to seal the cans anymore. Yeah. They did that back in the 30s, but now it's tin. So a little bit of it's not going to hurt you. It tastes like it has a little metal flavor to it. Cook it, mix it with something. You'll never know it's there. So just smell it. Your nose knows.
Yeah. And for us, like the grocery store canned beans is a fallback. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I know my wife wants to do when she retires and comes up here is make our own refried beans and jar can it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Because I know she wants to, after we've talked all the crap that they're putting in our favorite store-bought can of chili has undergone changes over the last 20 years in its recipe and its ingredients and its taste, as so has all the others which we are not actually fond of. And there's some of them out there we opened up. It's like, it's just so she practices trying to get to make the flavor of our favorite one, so that we can do the chili, we can do the refried beans, we can do whatever we need to do, but it takes time to learn to get flavor right.
Yeah.
Yay!
Seasoning is an art.
Kaylin's double dipping both on Facebook and on YouTube here. Woo!
Thank you.
Or no, not Facebook. She's double dipping both our channels. That's what she's doing. She's on my channel and your channel on YouTube. Okay. Sorry, I thought for a second I was thinking Facebook for it because of the link there. Yeah. So it's
I did link it out to Facebook.
But what? Yeah, I see. You got it linked to Facebook. I got it linked to Facebook. Somebody's not playing along. He's not even doing it to his channel. This is free stuff you can be putting on your channel there, and just not have to worry about making it there, Mark. Now, what is the hardest vegetable to do?
Well, I
When I
already
say
said
hardest, not where hardest where it comes out of the jar good.
corn. And we talked about this on an earlier program.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to can sweet corn because they want their sweet corn in a can. But actually what they can as sweet corn is actually just green field corn. If you have too much sugar in the corn, it will actually turn the corn brown, almost black in your jar. It'll actually scorch it, and it will not taste like what you think it's going to taste like. So you have to start with something that does not taste that great, and then you caramelize those sugars with a small amount of sugar, and then you wind up with what you get in the like you get in the store. And that a lot of times people's expectations, they don't know that, and they're
Mm.
like, oh, I'm going to can sweet corn because it'll be so much sweeter. And I had a bunch of sweet corn given to me. I'm like, I'm going to can this up so it doesn't go bad, even though I knew it. And it was, I'll show you. Who
I
wants
got
to eat corn that is the same color as my Bible cover?
Ugh.
I got 40 jars on my shelf downstairs from 3 years ago that all turn that way. I opened one. I just need to dump it in the mulch pile and
Yeah, it's,
get my jars back.
I mean, okay, when you are, and Mark should talk about this, not me, but when you are cooking for people and when you are presenting food to people, taste isn't just what you put in your mouth.
Taste is what you see.
Is what you see. And so when we talk about things, I've done it a lot on this live stream, talking about things not being appetizing because they're green. When you see green eggs, they're not appetizing. People are not going to eat that. It's also not going to smell very good and it's not going to taste very good. But, you know, you don't even get to those points. Oh, corn relish is so
Yeah.
good. Yes. And
That's a whole different, that's water bath. That's a whole different.
It's again, it's
Yep.
it's doing a pickle. And basically you're making the corn into a pickle. You put it in a vinegar solution. You add the acid so that you can then water bath it, and it's absolutely delicious and great on all sorts of things like hot dogs and hamburgers in the summer.
Okay.
So if you want to hold
corn.
on, I got to go about eggs real quick. So if you want to, as a prepper, if you want to hide food and people won't steal it or take it or pillage it, throw a little green food dye in your pickled eggs. Let them be green. You know it's just food dye. The visual appetizing this, that's not a word, is horrible. But you know in your heart it's just green food dye. So if they steal everything else, at least you got protein in your eggs and your pickled eggs.
Yeah.
Okay. Corn. Since it's up here.
Yep.
I know some people have a hard time digesting corn, and my wife and I have over the years we found it's getting harder and harder and harder to digest.
You got to chew more.
When you do corn relish and you got the vinegar and stuff in there, does that start breaking it down a little bit to make it easier to digest or anything? Or
no,
okay.
It keeps it crispy. It's crispier than canned corn. So
yeah, I was just because I was just kind of wondering because I mean we for years we've been doing the frozen sweet corn niblets in the big bags from Sam's Club or Costco, and it's got a bunch of little smaller bags inside of it. Then we just do that, but just kind of wondering it's kind of one of those things. It's like it's corn. Can corn be made more healthy for you to eat?
Sure.
Well,
so
here's
when you buy your go ahead, Tammy.
You go first.
Okay, so when you buy your freeze dryer, blanch your corn or cook it, throw it in the freeze dryer, take it out, throw it in a food processor. Now you have powdered corn for corn chowder.
Yeah.
And you will digest it just fine. Well, I mean, if you have other issues because of whatever's in the corn, that's your problem. But if you're worried about pieces passing through, we all know it. Turn it to a powder and throw it in a soup.
The other part to your question, how to make it healthier. Corn by itself is not a complete protein. So the reason that people have served corn and beans together for 2,000 years is because together they make a complete protein for your body
And
to digest.
rice. Yeah, throw rice in there and you're good.
Or you could, or you could add,
Okay.
rice and beans. That is one of we talked about that book, Diet for a Small Planet. That's one of the things she talks about are the different combinations that you need to make a complete protein. And corn and beans together is a complete protein.
Okay. So
Yeah,
freeze dried snack.
oh, it is.
Yeah, if it's cooked, you don't want to do. Well, you can do it raw. I haven't tried it raw. I might try some cooked corn and just see if it's like a corn snack.
So I was given a bunch of corn that had been cooked in butter, and I dried it in my dehydrator, and that was just like it was better than popcorn. It was just just a great snack.
Yeah, dude. We got to talk. I'll do if I do corn. Yeah, I just need your address. I'll just send you a couple bags of freeze dried corn and stuff, and don't let the kids near it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't. The kids never got any of that.
It's not like I don't have your phone
Hominy.
number.
hominy. Yeah.
Hominy is corn that has been how do I don't know the right term here.
Hominy is the I can't
with
remember the name of
lye.
it. The little piece of the corn that even nuts have it. What do they call that? That's what hominy is. Not actually the whole corn. It's the little
kernel. Kernel.
The inside of it, the little seed portion inside.
It's not the kernel. Yeah, it's the and there's a name for it, and somebody's gonna put it up there. Hopefully,
what the hominy does is the hominy takes the lye, takes the shell off the outside of the corn seed, and it breaks down so that it makes it more easily digestible. So the point I think Sue is trying to make here is that hominy is a more digestible form of corn, but you do lose some of the fat and fiber that you get naturally with the corn.
I think it's called the germ. Like when you open a peanut up,
germ.
split a peanut in half, you have that little itty bitty piece in there. That's the germ. Corn has the same thing. When you eat corn on the cob, what's left stuck to the cob, which we all go after anyway, is the germ. That's what's still partially attached to the cob. And you don't always get it all when you eat corn on a cob. So we all go after, I dip my cobs. I just smother more butter on there, and I'll just sit there and nibble all the little bits out of there, the hominy or whatever you want to call it.
That's why pigs love when people do corn on the cob and they toss it into the pigs. Pigs love it because they're getting that the
germ.
Yeah.
I take my corn cobs from making corn on the cob, or corn, and I boil my corn cobs and make corn cob jelly and corn cob or natural corn syrup.
Yeah.
Never thought about that.
Yes, because if I can get it from sweet corn, then it doesn't have the chemicals on it and the treatment and possibly the
sprays they use in the fields. Yeah, that.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff, and that's why I don't use corn syrup anymore, is because of the things that you can get along with it, and so I like to make my own.
Okay. Let's see. What else is hard that you would not recommend to a first-time canner? What would you say? Wait until you have a few years under your belt.
This is a tough question because people always ask the question the other way.
Yeah.
So can I can this? Can I can that? The answer is usually
what should I start with? I always say if you're going to start water bath, the first thing you water bath is strawberry jelly, and then I say the first thing you pressure can is chicken, and that's always my answer.
Get started.
Those are the easiest things. So.
And so Mother Garden Club wants to know how to make corn syrup.
You boil down your corn cobs, your sweet corn cobs, and you boil them right down to a syrup.
Now, don't use the corn cobs that everybody finished eating off of and throw them in a pot.
No, the ones you
Kind
cut,
of
the ones you've
no.
cut the kernels off. Thank you.
Yes, I know that. I'm just, sometimes you have to be clear to people.
I mean, you could. You're boiling them for a very, very long time,
Sure.
and it would kill a lot of any mouth bacteria you would have. But I don't. Once again, it is not something I would recommend or endorse. Thank you, Mark.
Canning air, yes.
Oh,
It's called freeze dried water. Add water.
yeah.
You're talking about this one?
Yeah.
Canning air?
Yeah.
Hey, I got a can of canned air. Yeah.
I'll be right back. I got to get something
Oh.
for my car.
Make your own high fructose corn syrup and ethanol. Check
That's
up.
That's a bigger process than I want to go through.
Knock yourself out, checked off.
I
Let
am
us know
not
how it
doing
turns
that
out.
at home. I will can corn syrup, which is no high fructose. It's just corn syrup. But I'm not making ethanol. Syrup, no.
It's really processed and yeah.
Yeah, and chemically processed.
Yeah, so corn syrup is not high fructose corn syrup if you make it yourself. It's just corn syrup. And I make vegetable cocktail to make it smooth. Vegetable cocktail? Oh. So, yeah, you can't. Certain vegetables have a lot of fiber in them. So, and that fiber, like V8, has lots of fiber. So, you pour it in a glass and pour the glass out. You can see on the side, there's all these little microfibers stuck to it. So, sure, I'll go there again. I did Bloody Mary mix. I made it myself. It was my own tomatoes. Added all my seasonings. My wife liked it. Great. Threw it in the freeze dryer. When it comes out, all those fibers are now so dry, I throw them in a food processor, turn it to a powder. And now add it back to some water. And so, yeah, vegetable cocktail. If you want to go down the freeze dryer road, and I'm sure Gil and I will do another one here at some point. Go down that road. You can powder any vegetable you want. You want hummus that's like not grainy. Freeze dry your canned garbanzo beans or soak them, shell them, freeze dry them, then turn them to a powder in a food processor or a coffee grinder. Add your water and then add your tzatziki sauce and all that stuff, and you will have the smoothest hummus you've ever had in your life.
Yeah. Okay. And Tip Top Farm, welcome. Too many ingredients for good salsa to be easy.
Well, here is the secret to good salsa. Okay. I love salsa. The thing that makes it taste crisp and fresh is the cilantro. So if you want really good salsa, once you open it, add some more cilantro that's fresh. That's going to help take it up to a way better level. I mean, even if you have to buy some from the grocery store to do that, it's worth it because it just takes it up a level. Even if your recipe is not that great, it takes it up a level. I do have a really good recipe, I think, because that's one of those things that's very individual. You've got to adapt it to your taste. But I do have a recipe on my channel for what I think is probably the best salsa. I've come to the point where I don't change the recipe anymore. I'm just using that one.
Yeah. And Billy says hummingbird. Oh, he's been feeding the hummingbirds.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. V8
tahini goes. Never heard of it, but okay.
Yeah.
Oh, like V8, tahini goes in hummus. Tahini is sesame seed paste.
Yeah.
And that is in hummus. I actually make mine without because that bitter twang to it. I don't like it. So I actually leave it out. But that is supposed to be by definition in hummus.
Yeah. Shoot here. Yeah, I've never developed a taste for hummus either. I've never really liked chickpeas because however my parents and grandmother used to get it was always kind of dry and just I never but I've seen ads for all sorts of flavored hummus now. You get them all, you get all these different type flavors in it and stuff. And I'm kind of like, one of these days I might have to be adventurous.
Make it yourself and leave out the tahini, and I bet you'll like it.
And make sure if you use a can of garbanzo beans, chickpeas, whatever, put them in a bowl, put them in a pot of water, and get your hands nice and clean. Get them in there, move it around, and get the shells out. Once the shells all fall off and you can strain them out, because they usually float, scoop them out, keep doing it till you don't get any shells left. Then you have just the bean, no shell, because the shell will make it grainy, gritty, and all that. That's what most commercial hummus has, the bean shell still in it.
Yeah,
I'm just,
it makes it
just
very grainy.
Looking something up here real quick for somebody here. Shoot. Let's see what this comes up with here. Dang.
While you're playing with that, I love to tell people a recipe is somebody's idea that they wrote down that tastes good to them. I've used other people's recipes. I'm like, this is horrid, or this is awesome, or I need to add this and this. So I rewrite it. Now it's my recipe. Now, when it comes to baking, that's a formula. Certain things you have to abide by: salt, yeast, water. You can't just alter that because of your tastes. You can add some flavors to it and stuff, but that's a formula. That's more science. Recipes are just an idea that worked for you, that you wrote down, and your kids loved it, and then you pass it down for generations. So I had to get that out there.
When you're working with fermentation, that is also a formula. You want to there are certain times when you have to keep your proportions in those same amounts. When you're pickling things for canning, you want to keep your water. There's a different ratio for canned pickles than there is to fermented pickles. The vinegar to water ratio is different, and you want to make sure like your recipe is actually a canning recipe, or if you're fermenting, you want to make sure your recipe is actually a fermentation recipe, or you may be very disappointed with your results. So
or sick.
Well, no, you're not going to get sick. Either way, you're still not going to get sick. It's just if you use a canning recipe for fermenting, it's going to be very, very strong, and it'll take a very long time to ferment because you're going to have too much vinegar in there. If you use a fermentation recipe and can it, it'll probably spoil. You'll before you can even eat it. Just because it's not quite enough vinegar. It depends. It's going to depend on your vinegar. And, also these days you really got to look and make sure you're using the right strength vinegar.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
5%.
Yep.
Let's water it down.
You mean that 45% vinegar I don't want to use?
Well, you can use that. You may have to water it down a lot.
The math for that is going to give you a headache. Ouch.
That's not math. That becomes a formula.
Well, math is, a mathematical formula to figure out how much dilution you need for that vinegar. It's math.
Yeah.
You got to, to make it the right percent.
I was trying to find an email I had in here on, so I get the emails from Harvest Right, and generally the ones that when they send, now I find it. Okay, let me go in here and
they've got a really good deal going on right now.
Yeah, $500 off is what I just looked at right here. Just popped up here. Yeah, so the Harvest Right Pro is 2,700. That's the medium size.
Is that they're doing the 5 tray now, right?
That is, the picture shows the 5 tray.
Yeah. That's good and bad. You can do more things, but right now I got 4 trays of strawberry slices in my freeze dryer, and they're stacked. And that's a 4 tray. If it's a 5 tray, I could probably fit a little bit more, but I can't stack them as high. So there's that. So yeah, that's fine. I mean, the 5 tray. I'm good with my 4 tray.
And I don't own one. I'm not endorsed by them. I'm not paid for anything for them, but I do absolutely have one on my wish list for someday when I win the lottery or something. But or if they wanted to send me and endorse me one, I would love to start doing stuff for them. But anyway, the medium is the one you want unless you have an extra plug in your house, unless you want to unplug your dryer every time you want to run your freeze dryer. The bigger than the medium, you need a 220 plug like your electric dryer takes.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so that's a big consideration. If you're going to buy the larger one, you may have to have an electrician out and rewire your house. So the medium comes with the regular 110 plug-in. And so that's something you also want to consider. And they don't really tell you that until it's kind of too late.
Yeah, well, for me, if we get the big one, it's the 220. It's well, that'll take me 15 minutes to wire in a plug.
Yeah, you
I'm
don't have
sorry,
to wire
I'm an
the whole
electrician.
You can do that.
You just
One
you just have to run a new circuit. You don't have to rewire your whole house. That's kind of a scary thing to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just dropping a new circuit in is not a problem, especially since
If you're
we pulled out the electric furnace, which freed up 4 40-amp circuits.
But see, we have an older house. We don't have an empty circuit on our board.
Right.
So I'd have to, that's a big expense then to get that hooked up here, or I'd have to unplug the electric dryer every time I want for 24 hours and move it every time I want to. That's not practical.
Yeah, no.
So you need to know those things before you buy them. This deviled egg recipe doesn't seem to be the same if you double it. Another formula for canning is making jam. Do not
never double
double.
it.
Never
No.
double a jam recipe ever. It is not proportional to how long you have to cook it, and it will probably not set up for you.
Yeah, I can
You can
attest
use
to
the
that.
same. Okay, I know this. We're gonna be Mark's gonna be grossed out here for a minute. You can use
I'm
the
not.
same dirty pot to make the
Yes, that's not
second batch
gross.
of jam, and that'll be absolutely fine. You won't hurt anything. You don't have to wash it and then start all over again. You can use that pot to make another batch, and make batches in succession that
Yep.
same day. But you can't double a recipe; it will not turn out.
Nope. I guarantee it. I did it myself. I'm like, I
Yep.
could double this. That nope, didn't
Nope.
work. I'm like, crap, I got blueberry syrup everywhere.
The amount of time that it takes for a pot, even if you have a beautiful commercial copper bottom pot, the amount of time is not doubled. It is much longer. So
Yeah, so it's 1
not
plus
worth
1
it.
is 3.
Yeah, it's not worth. And
No.
again, I don't want to sit down and figure out the formula for how much extended time
Now
it
you
is.
can get 2
you
batches
know.
done quicker in separate pots than you can as doubling a batch in one pot.
Yes.
You might as well just do the single pot. So you get 5 batches done the same time you do 4 if you double them up.
CB's
Or more.
here.
Yeah, CB. Woo! Yeah, because all right, when we used to do the blackberry jam back in the 60s, and then again in the 70s after we moved back there, there would be 4 pots going on the one stove, and the other stove, which we stuck outside and plumbed for it, had 2 big water bath canners going on it. So we were making the small batches per recipe, and we had the big, huge water bath one. So 2 of the batches for the pots making the jam would make enough jars to go in the one big water bath.
Yes.
And so it was a lot easier picking those pots up to move them around the small pots than trying to pick up a big old monster.
And you can sort of, I'll say sort of, you can rebel out, modify. After you do your first batch, it's like, okay, I got 3 half pints or 4 half pints and a 4 ounce, not even a 4 ounce jar. Okay, you can back off a little bit on the fruit, on the weight wise. You got to go by weight. I go by weight, not by volume.
It's best.
Or you can increase it a tiny bit, but you're also going to increase your time a little bit waiting for it to set. in the hot pot, but not a lot. We're talking a little bit here, just so, okay, this recipe now gives me exactly 4 half-pint jars or 6 half-pint jars. But you don't want to try to double it, and you don't want to cut it in half, but you can increase a tiny bit or decrease a tiny bit just because there is room for error in that in the standard jelly recipes in that, because they go by a cup. Give me 2 cups of strawberries. Okay, are they mashed or are they whole? Are they pieces? Are they diced? How much airspace is in between that cup? So I go by weight, and I've modified a bunch of my recipes just to go by weight, so that way I know. It's like, great, I got these massive strawberries. Well, 2 of them take up a cup. Well, I got a ton of airspace in there, so I go by weight. Mash it up. Yep, you mash it up and weigh it out. That was my
yeah. So basically, then changing recipes up to enlarge, double, or tripling recipes makes it a lot harder to do for several things in canning.
I don't recommend it for a lot of things, and jam it is a no-go. So that's a don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, when I do like tomato sauce or meat sauce, I'll do 4 to 6 gallons at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my recipe. It's whatever I throw in there. As long as it tastes good, when I'm done with it, great. It's going in the jar, hot pack, and pressure canned. If it's meat sauce, if it's tomato sauce, not so much. But yeah, you can only modify some things, especially water bath things with pectin, all the jellies, jams, and that. You just don't play with it. Do it the way it is, and you're good.
I have done mulberry pie filling, and I've done mulberry jam. I prefer mulberry jelly because they're so seedy, but I didn't have the right strainer attachment for my Victorio strainer, and it just clogged it up. So I just gave up and made jam. But I absolutely love mulberries, and I've done mulberry pie filling. They're excellent, and that's something you can forage. That's something you can forage in even in a town, because quite often you'll find mulberry trees any places along edges. So at the edge of a park where there's a tree line, or we have like the rail trails, there's a lot of mulberries where the birds sit along the trails. They eat them and then they spread the seeds. So you can often forage right in a rural or a city environment for mulberries and have free fruit that you
can make sure you pick the black ants out of your black mulberries. That's all I can say.
Mulberries are one of the fruits that I definitely recommend that you wash real well, because you will get a lot of
ants,
tag-alongs.
Not and the bugs will float out and try to swim away.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta go deal this right here with Sumi, because this is interesting, because I'm looking at medium stainless steel. Here's the one I see here. 2700, but it's not the stainless steel one. I'd have to go looking to find that one. On sale though, on sale. Ouch. But yeah. The extra large
outside look like, what the outside looks like doesn't change. Oh, that's not the large. That is the Pro. Look at the amount of trays. If you need that, if you're going to use one of those, you have about 30 acres of food, and you're a full-time farmer, and chickens and everything else, and you're going to use it constantly. That's not something for the home freeze dryer. Yeah, no.
Or you're in the freeze-dried candy business, because that's really hot.
Oh yeah,
market right now.
Yep. But yeah. Now, shoot, I had a thought there, and I got squirreled moment with the harvest right comment. Mulberries. The problem in California, and I'm throwing it out there, it's California on this one here, is so many cities have passed ordinances that they can only, on any city property and stuff, any trees that are mulberries, they're pulling them out and putting in fruitless mulberries, so they don't have a problem with the bird poop.
That's not a mulberry anymore, but okay.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is, so you're going to find in some cities and stuff, they've pulled out the real mulberries and put in these fruitless mulberries.
Yeah.
I had white mulberries on my neighbor's property
I
in the
love
last
white.
town I lived in.
Oh, I love the
And-
white one.
Yeah, but they have no flavor. We used to pick them all the time. Like they have no flavor.
Oh, see the
They're
ones I
just a
had.
little,
I had a
just
white.
little sugar bites.
I had a white and a black mulberry in my yard, and they had the exact same flavor. I could pick the white ones because the birds wouldn't eat them, and the birds would just devour all the black ones as fast as they were.
Oh yeah, they
the
can't
other
see
thing-
it. They're like, oh, it's white. It's not good.
to address the bird poop problem, if you have a crazy neighbor like I did, who is annoying and likes to park close to your in front of your house instead of their own, you can plant a mulberry tree in the median between, and so that nobody wants to park there anymore, and they don't obscure your view, and they can take their nosy little body right back over to their own yard and their own front parking place.
Your tree dripped all this staining stuff on my plastic bumper on my Tesla.
Yeah.
It won't come out. I have to pay thousands of dollars. I'm calling my lawyer. Yeah,
Well,
call your lawyer.
apparently when you drive a big white diesel work truck,
Yeah, fruitless. There you
that
go.
you like to run incessantly outside my bedroom window, it doesn't do well when somebody plants unfortunately, I never stayed there long enough to see the mulberry come to fruition, but that's
I
why
have mulberry trees
the other
popping up
mulberries.
everywhere.
That is why the other mulberries in my yard were encouraged, though. They're like, "Why
Yeah.
did you let these trees grow?" I said, "Oh, I love the birds and what they do."
I have mulberry trees. Literally, I cut down my big mulberry trees. Big. I think the biggest one I had was a 4-inch diameter. I had to cut it down because literally, yes, the birds were eating it and landing on my cars all the time. I'm like, okay, I'm done. And I wasn't doing anything with them. We ate a little bit, cut them all down. But to this day, in my car, I have a culvert between me and the neighbor with all the riprap. They just pop up everywhere because the birds have seeded them all over the area.
Yep.
And
it only takes 3 years for a mulberry tree to go from this big to 10 feet tall.
Yeah, 8 feet.
3 years. 3 years.
I might put some out of the property. That'll be fun. I'll dig them up here and bring them out there. And
it's free fruit. It's free fruit. Yeah. And the thing about mulberries, if you're going to have chickens, there's another free tip for you. Plant mulberries around your chicken coop. The mulberries will fall into the chicken coop, and they're very high in protein. It'll cut your feed bill in half in the summer.
Huh.
Black mulberry tree is cold hardy zones 3 through 10.
Yes.
Yes.
It'll grow in the Arctic.
Anywhere
it'll grow in the equator. Yes. They grow everywhere. They're weed trees, but you get fruit.
And again, mulberry is a very high protein fruit, so it makes great animal feed. Also, the leaves are used as a tea to help. How do I put this? I can't put this in a way that won't get you a strike, but look into it. It is very useful for people who have certain conditions that require insulin. I'm just going to say that. It has inulin in the leaves.
Send me that link.
Mother Earth Garden Club says they grow well in Minnesota.
They grow well everywhere.
They grow well. It's one of those things. Like I said, 3 years from here to 20 feet. And that's about the max they get. Generally, they don't get much bigger than that.
Okay, I've had some trees that were good, like, I'd say 18 inches in diameter. My neighbor had them. He had the 2 white mulberry trees. And they were huge. He never pruned them, never did anything, just let them grow. And, they were massive trees. You couldn't pick the fruit anymore.
No.
The birds picked it for you. They were just so high up in the air.
Well, you don't actually pick a mulberry tree. You
shake it.
You put sheets down underneath it, and then you shake the tree, and the ripe ones fall, and then you pick up your sheet with all your good stuff, or a tarp, or whatever. Yeah.
There we go. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just something I never thought about. I'm gonna have to find out whether or not I like mulberry, the black mulberry.
They're very, very seedy. So people that have GI conditions, it's not on an approved list for people with that are on a low residue diet.
Mm.
So
I'm just kind of looking here, and Walmart sells dwarf black mulberry, $30.
Jeez. Hey, I'm a millionaire then. My yard is loaded with
yours are
kiwi.
not dwarf. Just have the common mulberry.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
live
but
in the southern part, see, like mulberries here are maybe like, I don't know, around here they're about the size of the first knuckle on my little finger. If you live in the south, there are mulberries that grow 6 to 8 inches long and as big as my finger around. So there are some. I can't think of. I'm in the mulberry thing on Facebook. There are some really fascinating varieties of mulberries that come from other countries that they can grow in zone 10 that I can't grow here in zone 4.
Right.
So,
So mulberries are easy to can. What's hard to can?
And they're found all around the world. You can find mulberries in just about every country around the world.
okay. All right. So, now we're hit the top of the hour. Oh, I just got the pop up. Cold War Prepper is going live. So, real quickly, what I have coming up here. First, Tammy, are you going live this week?
Probably not.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
Everyone keep an eye out just in case she pops up.
I might try to pop up on Thursday at noon. It has not been working out for me. I'm gonna have to find a different time slot. And then this week was a really rough week. Our family dog passed away this weekend, and it messed up all of my plans and things. And so I'm really not. I haven't even looked at what's going on for this week because she got ill suddenly on Saturday and passed away on Sunday. So I haven't even looked at what the week looks like.
Okay, so coming up here for me, tomorrow on my other channel, Gray Man Prepping, the topic is bug out vehicles. By request. It's by request. And Thursday night is the midnight ride. Tomorrow night starts at same time now. Everything is 8 p.m. Eastern except for the midnight ride, which is 10 p.m. Eastern. So Thursday night, midnight ride, 10 p.m. Eastern. Friday, back here on Camp Pat Family Compound, the title is Never Promise the Rose Garden. And I'm keeping exactly what we're going on that a little secret because I think it's going to be kind of cool. Saturday on Camp Pat Family Compound is Unhealthcare System. Not the healthcare system, the unhealthcare system. And that one will probably get inked, but we're going to try to dance around it on that one to avoid. We're not going to give any advice on it. We're just going to talk about other stuff. All right. And then next Monday, this is going to be an interesting one here about canning. Best stoves for canning. Because I've gotten several questions about what is the best stove for canning. So we're going to talk about different ones, including.
I've got my answer right now, but okay.
I got all the worst ones lined up.
The electric one back here. We're going to talk about the induction plug-in adapter there, and we're going to talk about a propane one and natural gas and the big Wolf stoves. We're going to talk about a bunch of stoves.
Okay.
Next Monday.
What about my wood stove? Just kidding.
Yeah.
If I had the potbelly stove I had in high school that we brought back, if that didn't get knocked over and broken, that I would have that for canning on too.
You can can on an open campfire if you can keep that temperature just right.
Yeah. I go camping and quite often because I also forage a lot. So quite often I'll be like, oh, I've always got jars with me and lids and things. And, I also take jars that then become empty. And so quite often I have sat and we've peeled apples that we've foraged and made applesauce and canned it over an open fire. A boiling water bath is not hard to keep going
No,
over.
that's easy. You're not going to pressure canning over an open fire is much more difficult.
That is a little more tricky. You've got to, I'm a campfire snob. I go 2 weeks every summer to a summer camp, and I cook for 40 people, 3 meals a day. 2 of them are prepared over the open fire, and I have I make my demands in advance for what kind of wood and the size of the wood, sizes of the wood that I want for the week. Because it's, you just have to know. If you know, you know.
Yep.
No, Saturday is Gray Man prepping for unhealth care. All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody that came in. Thank you. And so we had we were streaming to 4 things. We were streaming to Camp Patton Family Compound. We were streaming to Rebel Canners on YouTube. They were doing Camp Patton Family Compound on Facebook and Rebel Canners on Facebook. So we were firing it off all over the place tonight. So everyone,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming in. Thank you, Tammy and Mark, for coming up here and sharing your knowledge with everybody, and me especially. And everyone, hopefully I'll see you tomorrow night over on Gray Man Prepping. See y'all later.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
This is the Head Talk.